game for everyone at the perfect price. Hurry, sale ends Monday.
What's that?
Overwatch.
What's up, Chris? How goes, JD? Sorry, I don't have any like mics. This is kind of an impromptu session, so if there's any delays and all that good stuff, you guys will have to forgive me. And leaving up chat like a noob is probably not a good idea. We'll wait to see just for a moment if anyone else is going to join us, and then we'll get right into it, and we'll go through and see just kind of what the opening strategies are, and really what's in it for us. So in the meantime, you can watch me farm Chiruka Remains with the with an OP team. What's up, Pro? We're just gonna wait just a few more minutes while we get this all good to go. JD, considering I'm a complete Twitch noob, where do you see the amount of people that are currently like viewing or doing all that kind of good stuff? Oh, I might be actually viewing my my own stream as a viewer, so I can't. Oh boy, let's figure this out. Well, 5 people, will be good to go to start. Start here shortly. Then I think Alice is gonna put a little notification out there. Woohoo! Need more. Oh, we need more OP Nat 5s for Guild Siege. There's a dramatic shortage of monsters out there. Just bear with me for a few more seconds. Oh, okay, I found the right screen. Great. Less noob. All right. So let's get into it a little bit. Once this run finishes, I'll switch over to the Guild Siege mode, and I'll talk about a few intro things. I also have a YouTube video that I just kind of quickly put together that'll cover some of this content as well for anyone that's looking. And awesome, pro. So hopefully, people that are wanting to start getting some of these good rewards will hop over so we can be coordinated for tomorrow. So yeah. Let me grab the YouTube link real quick. I just had it up. There's the link to the YouTube, and Alice got it too. But so I guess the number one thing to understand about Guild Siege going into it is that it's very, very different from anything else that Summoner's War has ever done. And what I mean by that is most of Summoner's War is a solo game, right? It's solo with a social aspect to it. When you're doing giants, when you're doing dragons, when you're farming even something that's more social like raids, or you're going and doing arena battles, it doesn't really matter if you win or lose, because the only one that's affected is you. And you have an unlimited amount of times to kind of change up your strategy, see what was going wrong, going back and forth. Whereas this content now for Siege is highly interactive in a way that even Guild Wars is not. I mean, Guild Wars, as long as you're hitting targets that are green, yellow, you're going through the more appropriate phases and everything like that, there's not really a big issue on your individual success, because somebody else can make up for you. But Siege Battle, on the other hand, not only is it happening in real time, where the other team has the opportunity to attack back at the same time that you're attacking forward, but you only have a limited amount of tries. Just because a monster lives or dies has no bearing whatsoever on the next battle. So every battle you take, you might as well YOLO it, in the sense of fight it all the way to the end, because you're not going to be able to use those monsters anyway. And this has an important implication because you're limited to only 30 monsters, and every single time that a monster is used, it's gone no matter what happens, whether you win, lose, or otherwise. The defense of the opposing team is always unlimited. In other words, let's say we take out, the enemy's tower 10. So or the enemy rather takes out our tower 10, and they completely beat this defense. They completely beat the defense out. They win the tower. They take it over, and now we've got to take it back in an hour. We can reuse that defense once it's dead and back in the headquarters an infinite amount of time. So that means that offense and offensive power is very, very limited, while defense and defensive power is unlimited. So if you mess up the timing or you're not coordinated in this fight, even if your guild is twice as strong as the enemy guild you're fighting, if you mess up and you take something too early, or you use monsters that are too strong against things that are weak, you're gonna completely lose those straight out. And thanks, JD. I'll stop. I'll stop hitting the laptop. It's a bad habit, I guess. So in this situation, what you need to understand is what it takes to win. The first guild to 20,000 points is going to be the one that walks away with the win no matter what. That means that control of towers is the most crucial aspect of the game. Without that, without getting more and more and more people in and expanding out your tower base, you're never going to be able to catch up. And that also means that within the first 3 hours, the amount of towers you take and or control are going to determine whether or not you have a chance of winning over the next 9 hours. So what we need to do in the first phase is set up success for the people that can attack in, say, hour 6, in hour 9, in hour 12, so on and so forth. Now, there are 3 situations that are going to happen. The first situation is the 2 guilds that we're fighting are both weaker than our guild. That means that we can steamroll them, we can do whatever we want, we can blitz them out, they're not going to be able to fight back. The second situation, probably the most realistic situation for a guild like Visioneers Main, is one opponent is going to be stronger or the same strength as us, and the other opponent is going to be weaker. And the third situation is both both guilds are stronger than us or the same level, and we're completely and utterly screwed. Or at least if we were to try to brute force it, we would be screwed. So let's go back to the first scenario. First scenario, both guilds are weaker than us. So that means that red and yellow here have a lesser repertoire of mons. They have a lesser, maybe they don't have as many attackers. Their arena ranks are lower. We know that we can take them out. And how do we know that we can take them out? Well, when we start the guild siege, the 3 guild names here at the top are going to show up. So whoever's coordinating the attack can just remember the guild name, go over to community, go to guild search, and we can bring them up. So let's say Visioneers 2 is fighting Visioneers 1. So I can go up and I can search Visioneers 2, pull them up, and I can look through and look at their average arena rank. So I can look and say, all right, well, there's a bunch of Fighter 3s, there's a Conqueror 1, this is not too bad. For V1, this is an opponent that we can probably take out realistically easy. We don't need to fear too much. Now let's say our second opponent is going to be like Visioneers 3. We would go through, we'd do the same thing. We'd say, all right, Visioneers 3, where are they at? Well, okay, they're all a bunch of Fighter 2s, Fighter 1s, so on and so forth. Let's go ahead and take them out. They're much easier. So between the two of these, Visioneers 3 is easier than Visioneers 2. So going back to the Guild Siege section, let's say that Visioneers 3 is red and Visioneers 2 is yellow. So we know that of the two of them, Visioneers 3 is weaker and Visioneers 2 is slightly stronger, but they're both weaker than we are in Visioneers main. So the first thing that we're going to go out is we want to do a strategy that I call, total blitz. We just want to completely and totally command, the first 3 hours. The first 3 hours kind of being the command and rush phase. Get control of the board, get an early lead in points, set it up so that the people that are attacking in phase 2, past hours, which is, basically, hour 3 to about, hour 7 or so, can come in and easily take care of things. The first opening move that the battle commander, that the people that you're looking at should go after now, are going to be to attack towers 10 in the center, towers 10 in north, and tower 11 north. We want to move forward in a way that is advancing the lines so that none of the towers we take are at risk of getting cut off by the opponents. So by taking tower 10, we eliminate their strongest defense first, and we're able to kind of push in and give us the strategic objective of being able to hit towers over here on the right side in the north, and be able to attack more towers over in yellow as well. Then after we've taken the first 3 towers on the red team side, we have a 1 hour wait period before we can attack these towers that are slightly in-game, like more beyond the front line. After the red team, in this example, the weakest guild of the bunch, Visioneers 3, is taken out, we want to go towards the second, weaker guild, being Visioneers 2. And we do the same attack pattern. We go after 10, we go after 12, we go after 11. And we advance the same. After that, the first rushing attackers should sit there, be able to take care of that within the first 10, 15, maybe 20 minutes. We've got an hour then before we can attack again, because there's going to be a 1 hour refresh timer as we move defenses into here. What that's going to do is that's going to immediately force these weaker guilds to attack our defenses that we're able to set from the reserve in headquarters on their front lines. It also means we're getting 22 points per turn because we have captured, I'm sorry, it'll end up being 18 points per turn because we have captured 6 towers from the enemies, while they're now only getting 9 points per turn. Meanwhile, they may also be taking in additional hits from each other, going back and forth. They're probably going to be losing some monsters trying to attack R10, R11, because the tendency is going to be to try to hit these, 3 towers in the center triangle, because those are the towers that take over the most amount of people. You can attack the most enemy towers from that position. So if you take, for instance, Tower 10 red, we can now hit 4 more towers that we couldn't attack before, whereas every other tower only opens up 1. So that's kind of situation 1, where it's 2 weaker guilds. That should be an easy blitzkrieg. We want to just advance in lines and make sure that there's no easy way for the enemy to cut us off. Moving over to situation 2, the more likely situation, where this is, let's say, we pull Visioneers 2. Oh, hold on, JD. So once we take that front lines from both guilds, we need to put our strongest defenses in those taken towers so we cannot lose them back. Yes, that's absolutely correct, JD. We'll take our strongest defenses from the reserve and we'll put them in those forward towers for 2 reasons. One, if we lose the defense and we lose the tower again, the defense comes straight back to our headquarters and we can reuse it an infinite amount of times. 2, they're going to use up a lot of their strongest attackers trying to take those down and recapture their territory while we can focus on just pushing towards their headquarters and making it so they can't come back. Because here's the deal. If we get to 20 points per turn, or 20 points per tick, whatever you want to call it, by hour 4, there's almost no way that the other guilds can come back, because by then they're only getting something like 5 and 6 points a turn, and we should be at like 6,000 or 7,000 points, and they're only at 2,000 points. So this is the situation. So that's the situation that you hope for. You hope that both guilds are weaker. It's going to be easy. In that situation, I mean, the time requirements for everybody is like 15 minutes, and we're all going to walk away with like 150 crystals for 100 energies worth of work, which is the best rewards in the game. Situation 2 is where it starts to get a little bit hairy, and this is where we've got to get smart. So to recap on situation 2, the first guild that we're attacking is much stronger than we are, and the second guild is weaker than we are. This can also apply where that one guild is the same level of us, and then the other guild is weaker. Now, this is where Visioneers, in our first guild battle, this is where we messed up. This is where we got ahead of ourselves, and getting new to it. This is how we came in second place last time. So let's say yellow here is the weaker guild. And let's say red here is Swag. Now, Swag is if you don't know Swag, they're one of the high-end guilds in Summoner's War. We've got no chance of beating them. They've just got, they're ridiculously OP. I mean, they could, it's a guild full of Highlanders. Just put it that way, okay? But, so we know red is strong. Now, red's got their strongest defenses on their front line, just like we've got our strongest defenses on their front line. The first reaction is we got to hit them fast before they have a chance. We need to put them on the defense fast. That's the first reaction, and that is what will lose the fight. Because let's say we take their Tower 10. With their strongest defense, to give you perspective, like they're going to have a defense that looks something like this in our Tower 10. This is our strongest defense. I don't want to fight this twice. I don't want to fight Sierra, Molong, Chloe once, let alone twice. I'm going to lose. I'm going to lose something. I don't want to fight. This is terrible. I mean, I hate Wusa. I hate Perna. I mean, this sucks. No. Don't want to fight it once, let alone twice. So let's say we go through the effort, we take this tower down, we celebrate, we go, yeah, we took it down. Well, guess what? All these defenses just went straight back to their headquarters so that they can use it again. And meanwhile, we've lost all of our great attackers because this probably took a hell of a lot of effort to take down. Now, there's something interesting. You can assume that the other guilds are thinking the same way, that they need to go on the offense and they need to strike in fast. So you know they're going to attack us. They're going to use their initial monsters. They're going to waste attacks. They're going to go through. So the strategy we need to do with red is turtle up. We don't attack them. We don't mess with them. We don't do anything. We let them waste their attacks on our defense, because the worst case scenario is they take towers 8, 9, and 10 from us, and we retake them in the control phase and replace the really strong defenses there. That's our worst case scenario. Meanwhile, they have used up their strongest attackers, and we have the strategic advantage. Pro, I saw your message. I'm going to finish this thought, and then I'll read the question out loud and definitely answer that. So bait them into attack. Bait them in. Let them waste their first full, attacks on taking us down, and we can counterattack and not have to deal with their stronger defenses. But we're not going to be idle. We know that yellow is weaker, and because we've looked up the yellow guild right at the beginning of the guild siege, we know that we can take these down. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a flanking maneuver around red. We're going to take towers 10, 11, and 12 from yellow, and we're going to blitz those guys, so that way they're starting to lose points. We get the early point advantage against people we know we can win against, and we can use weaker initial attacking monsters on. And then, during the next hours, we push all the way to the yellow base. We focus almost exclusively on yellow, on a land grab to get more points from yellow, while red is also attacking yellow and trying to attack us in blue, exhausting their best attackers. Now, once we've reached a point where red and us are at a standoff, we focus on keeping our home defense, and then we push towards the center. So then we push them back after they've used up their strongest attackers. So that way our second and third waves of people that have to log in 6 hours and 9 hours later after the start of the battle have a realistic chance, and we're at least keeping up with the points of the stronger guild, or we have a stronger win. That way we avoid a situation where we push on all angles. We push into red and we push into yellow, and we're now weakened. We've used up our strongest attacks. The stronger guild counters attacks us, splits us all up, and we can't do anything about it. So does that make sense? And while I'm letting the stream catch up, I'm going to read out Pro's question. Pro's question was, what about strategy of using all strong nat 4s and filling up the towers? If you fill a tower defense with no nat 5s, it forces the opposing team to only use nat 4s to get them back. They might not have any strong ones. In that case, we hang on to that tower by default. Pro, so it doesn't... You're half right in the way that works. On defense, we may as well go all out to the strongest capabilities we can, because we can reuse a defense an infinite amount of times. If your Kamoon, Theo, Chasen, Terror defense dies and that tower is lost, we can redeploy that instantly. It's no problem. But the restriction you're thinking of is where it comes to some towers you can only have 4-star monster defenses, and other towers you can have nat 5 defenses. So Tower 8 is a small icon defense where this tower can only have 4-star and below monsters. So that's why you need defenses that are strong defenses that are only 4-star monsters. This tower can only be attacked by 4 stars and below, and it can only be defended by 4 stars and below. And the way you can tell is that if you look at Tower 8, it's kind of got a miniature tower size, versus Tower 9 has a big, tall, intimidating tower. And that big, tall, intimidating tower can have both nat 5s and nat 4s. So I hope that clarifies your question, Pro. So JDS, so will we be on Discord at 11 a.m.? Yeah, we'll be on Discord to kind of coordinate, and then as soon as we get the guild information and their guild defense, we'll be able to coordinate who we can attack and who we can go after. What I'm hoping to achieve is that we can get the battle commanders for V main, for V2 and V3 all together and all using a similar strategy, so we can kind of hammer out this opening strategy and, you know, see what we need to do in phase 2 and phase 3 and so on and so forth. Voice chat if possible, JD. I know some people will probably be lurking. I know I'll be running around doing voice commands as well as typing the commands out, because, you know, there's always people that are going to be in Discord and not in Discord. Some people only in guild battle. Some people are only in guild chat, so on and so forth. So 90% of what I'll be trying to accomplish tomorrow, kind of leading the shots, is just making sure that we can use the attacks in the right phase. As long as we've got 8 to 9 attackers online at noon tomorrow, noon server time, we'll have enough to float it. So before we get to kind of open Q&A, there is the third scenario. So the third scenario is both guilds outclass our OP. They're both guilds full of Highlanders. They're both guilds where we don't really have a chance of winning, at least in a 1-2 punch fight. This scenario, it's an extension of the strategy of what we used against the red team in scenario 2, the stronger guild. What we want to do is turtle up. We don't want to use a lot of our initial attacks. We want to wait for them to make their moves, and we want to counterattack, because we know that they're going to be trying to push in on us, and what we want to do is we want to hold our defensive, you know, initial 12 towers first, because we need to remember that we don't need to win in order to get awesome rewards. As long as we can get to about 10,000 siege points, then we're going to get good rewards. We're going to get rewards that made the time worth it. We're just going to need to have to play it by ear. So when both guilds are stronger, and this is likely to be what V3 runs into tomorrow, because V3 won the battle, you guys are likely to run into 2 guilds that are stronger than V3 is. So you need to kind of hold off initially. Just wait, see how the first 15 minutes, 30 minutes goes. Let them burn through attacks. Be very conservative on who you hit, and hit the towers that are easier to capture. So instead of trying to hit the center towers, where the strongest defenses are, don't try to hit towers 10. Don't try to hit towers like that, because you're going to waste your initial attacks. Go after the weaker towers like the Tower 8 and the Tower 12, because you can't get flanked. You can't get multiple guilds attacking you. You can put pressure, and if you lose the tower, you're not going to be put into a position where you get cut off and start losing a bunch of points. So that's kind of the most scary situation, but it's still winnable. And you need to just have the mindset that a win in a case where you're fighting 2 opponents that are stronger than you. In this phase, you have the advantage of 1. They might not be as coordinated as we are, in meaning that they're going to string out their attacks throughout the day. They're not going to quite get as much things going. We can have a coordinated advantage against them. And 2, we can still get as many points as we can and try to hope that they kind of take each other out for us. So that way, once their attacks are done, we counterattack and go. So to briefly recap the 3 main strategies, in the case where the first scenario is both guilds are weaker than our guild, and in that case, you immediately try to go for their front line and advance in lines. So you would take out Tower 10, Tower 11, Tower 12 for them. You attack the weaker one first, then the stronger one. Place the strongest defenses we've got in those towers and push them in. And then scenario, and just keep pushing towards their headquarters, advance in lines, advance in things. You don't want to advance in a situation where somebody could take one tower from you and cut off towers, because then you lose those points. The second situation, one guild is stronger and one guild is weaker. Attack the weaker guild, take their 10, 11, and 12 from them, and let the stronger guild use up their stronger attacks against us and counterattack them later. Push towards the headquarters of the weaker guild and flank red, so that way we can, get more points and beat red that way. The third scenario, both guilds are stronger than us. We're in trouble. We're, not going to have a lot of fun. Turtle up. Wait for them to kind of do attacks. Don't attack the center towers. Attack the outlying towers. So put a little bit of pressure on them, but conserve and wait and try to preserve as much of the original territory as possible to keep that 12 points coming in. Alice was saying don't forget about the first and second half. So the first and second half, here's how it works. So the first half of the Guild War is make or break. A situation, so if a guild wins, if a guild gets to 20,000 points in the first half, there is no second half. So you might as well go all out in the first half and try to do as much as you can to take them down and eliminate everything that you can as fast as you can from those guys. If there is a second half, it's because it's a situation where all three guilds are similar in strength, so kind of like a scenario 3 or even a scenario 2, and the guild that has and holds the most territory is going to be the one that wins. So the most crucial part of the siege battle is the first 6 hours of the first half. And so far from what we've seen, a clear winner is going to happen from that side. And the people that can attack after those 6 hours are going to be the people that kind of clean everything up. So if we break the first half into 3 phases, the first 3 hours is going to be the kind of the command and rush phase. The strategic objective is to gain control of the board and to hold as many points per turn as we can get. Phase 2 is the control phase, where the people who can attack in hours 4 through about hours 7 come into play. Try to make sure that we're not losing too much on defense, take back towers that were lost on our end, push a little bit deeper into enemy territory if we're in a situation to do so, and kind of hold the line. And then the last, that's the control phase. And then the last phase, which is, basically hours 12 through, hours, 7 to the end of the first half. That's the cleanup phase. So the people that can attack in the last few hours of the battle, what they need to be doing is they need to be looking to make sure if there's any towers that are cut off, that you recapture those cut off towers, that we're getting as many points as we can, because by then we have either won the battle or we need to be focused on getting to at least 10,000 siege points, so that way we can get some awesome rewards. Because, guys, look at this. If you go to info and reward, you get 15% at Guardian level of the total crystals that you get in siege points. So if we get 10,000 siege points at Guardian level, that's 1,500 crystals. If you win the siege battle, that's 3,000 crystals divided amongst all the participants in siege. So if you've got 5% contribution in the siege battle, in a winning siege battle at 3,000 crystals, you're getting 150 crystals for that fight. And you can get that twice. So that means you can get up to 300 crystals or more every single week just from the couple attacks that you do in siege battle. That's higher than anything else in the game. I mean, Fighter 3, crystal-wise, gives 100 crystals a week. Conqueror 1 in Arena is like 125. Conqueror 2 is 150. And that's only once per week, not twice. The World Boss gives like 150 or 125 for Conqueror 2 rank. And similar kind of all the way down. And that requires you to use about 60 crystals worth of energy per week to get. So that means that, you know, it's really worth the time and the effort to put in to contribute towards these, because the rewards in terms of crystals is the best you're ever going to get in the game. There's nothing else in the game that you can spend 100 energy on in a week and get 300 crystals. It just doesn't exist. And on top of that, you're getting 25% guild points, which is like freaking 500 to 900 guild points extra a week, which doubles the amount of guild points you're getting from guild battles, and you're getting a free world boss chest. You might get a Devilmon, you might get, a legendary scroll piece, might get some extra crystals. It doesn't even matter. I mean, the treasure box, dude, don't care about the treasure box. That's just a bonus. That's just a give me. That's just like an awesome cool. It's the crystals and the guild points. This is going to allow you as a player that's catching up to build your guild towers to be stronger and get more crystals and more guild points even faster than anyone who came before you. This is a come to us catch-up mechanic. Come to us is saying, here, please catch up to the top people. Here's a mechanic where we're going to give you like 300 crystals to like 700 crystals in triple the time that everybody else that was playing for 3 years before you could possibly hope to get. So, JD, all that you missed is I went over Scenario 3. Scenario 3 is just where the two guilds are stronger than you are. So in our case, say that we're fighting Epic Fail Alpha and we're fighting Swag, and we've got no chance. The objective here is to turtle up. Don't waste too many attacks on the enemies. Let them duke it out between each other. Let them waste attacks on attacking us. And we counterattack against their weaker defenses. And we hold our territory and look for a weaker opening to attack rather than trying to blitz them out. And if we do attack, we try to go for these outlying towers, not the center, because everybody's going to attack the center and everybody's going to be trying to hit that over and over again. Yes, absolutely, JD. You should be absolutely updating the guild flags, because the guild flags do affect guild siege. So if you think about it, if you maxed your crit damage guild flag and you have your arena tower your arena crit damage tower maxed, that's an extra like 50% crit damage on all of your monsters. If you have HP, that's like an extra 40% HP on all of your monsters. So yeah, absolutely. Do it. Don't buy the Rainbow Mon and only buy the towers, unless you need Ifrits. Probo asks, in Situation 3 where both teams are stronger, what is timing attack strategy for strongest and weakest teammates? As in, if both teams are stronger, would you want your strongest players hanging back to attack, or strongest players want to attack during rush to get back our towers? So this is where every battle commander for and excuse me, I'm just gonna go back to running some double XP because I think I've shown the map. I'll bring the map back up if there's other questions to get some fun stuff going. To answer your question, Pro, you guys, everybody needs to coordinate and know when everybody can attack. Look, the reality is Guild Siege doesn't take as much time as everyone thinks it does, but everybody thinks that they're required to log in at the very beginning, and that's not necessary. So out of like 20 to 25 attackers, we really only need 10 people to attack in the first hour to 3 hours for Phase 1. So when you know who those 10 players are that can attack in that first 3 hours, find out who the strongest people are, find out who the weakest people are, and as much as I hate to say it, here's how y'all should coordinate. People that know they're weaker, and you know when you're weaker, like I know, like Highlander and Wiggles have much better monster box for PvP than I do. And at the end of the day, I know they're going to be able to attack a stronger opponent than me. So my role, I need to be able to, as a mid-tier kind of player, I need to be able to go in and attack, and make sure. I'm sorry, I got the message from. I got an unexpected raid invite. So what I'm doing, I'm sorry. So I know that I'm a mid-tier, player within the guild, and I can't attack the strongest players. So I know that my role, I can do 2 things of high value. One, I can take out the strongest. I can take out their other mid-tier players. I can take out the players that, if they have a strong defense, I can save somebody like Highlanders or JDs or Wiggles attack for a stronger opponent by attacking the stronger mid-tier players or the weaker defenses of the stronger players. So in a way, I need to be a little bit of a sacrifice. I need to go in, I need to attack it, I need to try my best to get a win. And if I don't get the win, I need to report the runes and the monsters and say, hey, look, my Orion is 250 speed and they outsped me, so take this. So that way the stronger player can come in and beat that. Now, as a stronger player, you also need to be able to go in and say, I need to show leadership. I need to show the guild that we can win this. I need to get us at least a couple wins early so people have confidence in our push. So let's take, for example, a Wiggles, a Sheen Rock, a Highlander, Conqueror 3, Guardian 1 players for Visioneers. They need to go in and get an early win against a stronger opponent of the enemy just to show that it's possible and that the guild overall has confidence that we can win this. Because this Guild Siege, like I said, is very different than everything else that Summoner's War has done. It's a co-op. It's a tactical game. Psyching out the enemy is just as much a strategy as having stronger runes and better monster compositions. So if you push all the way to the enemy's base, they're going to be demoralized, and I guarantee you half of their guild is not going to attack because they're going to give up and say, we've already lost this. So you need to understand that. You need to instill confidence early and often in your teammates. You need to do whatever is necessary to consistently bringing this confidence that A, we can win, and B, if we can't win, we're going to get as many damn points, to get as many damn crystals to make this as worth it for everybody as possible. Because that's the biggest thing I saw after the first guild sieges. What ended up happening was, people got bummed out. They're like, damn, this is not necessarily, this is hard. This is new. This is a strategy that I don't know if I can, participate in. And it took a day or two to kind of lick the wounds, get the confidence back, and to come back at it. So I hope I know that was a long way to answer your question, Pro. But I hope that makes sense to you. Do you need me to clarify that a little bit, or? Alice asks, for V3, should we put up all 10 defenses so we just have... Yes. Even if you only have... Okay, guys. Defense is unlimited. Defense is unlimited. You can have you can have and reuse as many defenses as possible. So if you have a Nat 2... Let's say you only have monsters, like fully ruined monsters for like 5 defenses. Even if you only put Nat 2s in to fill up the rest of your defenses, the opponent still has to waste monsters and attacks on taking that defense down. It is much better to have the towers fill up with defenses than it is to have only like 2 or 3. Because just because you've got a 2-star Konamiya, a 3-star Bernard, and an unawakened Wind Sylphid as your trash defense, you could put that up, and the enemy still has to use up their monsters to beat that. So always put up all 10 defenses, because you never know when you might need it. So that's what you should do. Now, of course, you may prioritize putting the stronger defenses up front, because you do want to win defenses, because you get higher rankings and you get higher contributions whenever your defenses win. So make sure that you obviously have your strongest defenses you can. Pro asks, so stronger to mid-ranking in guilds should be on when it starts. If at all possible, you don't think about it in terms of like strong and weak people. Think about it in terms of who do I have available to attack at what times. Because nobody, let's say you've got this, your strongest attacker, but they're in Pacific time and it's noon and they're in the middle of their job. We can't ask them to leave their job to go do some attacks for a silly game, okay? But let's say we do know that they're going to be on in 6 hours. So we know that strong player is going to be able to come in and be able to kind of help us do a second push. So that's still just as valuable as the initial push. So just find out who can attack and when. When is easy and comfortable for them? When doesn't stress them out? When can they sit down for 30 minutes and just kind of coordinate with us? That's how you should that's how you should coordinate everything on that end. Obviously, you do want a couple like stronger to mid-ranking people on as early as possible to get a good initial punch. But if that's not possible, then you just kind of got to alter it up a little bit. So just everything needs to just find out, who can attack and when, and what's a good time for them. Find out what assets you have and coordinate around that. Like for instance, I've got a list of the 10 people that can attack at the start tomorrow, and I've got a list of people that can attack in 6 hours from then. So that way I can be on. And I can say, okay, hey, let me catch you up, you guys that were 6 hours in, and this is what you need to go, and you need to go after an attack. This is the role you need to take on to give us the best chance for a win. And by the way, hi Highlander, appreciate you for dropping by. I was answering questions, so I saw it going through. I have no idea what's going on in game chat because I'm paying attention to the stream. Alice asks, is it worth setting up teams of 5, meaning 5 people that will be on at the same time that will be responsible for taking down Tower 8, for example? Yes, it is worth it to have, coordinate in, say, okay, hey, can these 5 people attack in the first hour? Can these 5 people attack in the second hour? Can these 5 people attack in the third hour? That's perfectly fine. But you can't always say, hey, take down Tower 8. Because you don't. Every situation and every siege is going to be a little bit different based on the guild strengths that we're fighting and their situational, the situational analysis. So I can't just say 100% of the time you should always attack, Tower 10 first, or you should always attack a Tower 8 first. But those 5 people or 6 people or however many you can get per hour or per 3 hours just need to be active and aware of what's happening. And really the only person who is, at least for these first few weeks, is kind of screwed time-wise is the War Master / Battle Commander, because they've got to keep the new people coming up to speed on what's going on, where to attack. Once people get a feel for the tactics and once people get an instinct for where they should attack and what the right move is, which will come, it's going to get a lot easier even for the War Master. Pro's asking, only reason why I'm asking, because I can literally be on all day. Don't know if I should, or anyone for that matter, use up all your attacks right away or spread out through the siege. Pro, if you can be on all day and you are comfortable with that, don't burn all of your attacks right away. Kind of get a feel for it. Just see the situation. Because especially if you're on all day and you can kind of judge the situation, you can go in and you can snipe a tower. And you can go in and you can attack something that is crucial, that might take someone else time to catch up on. Because I guarantee you there's going to always be those couple people who aren't paying attention to guild chat, who aren't reading Discord, who are just going to attack, and they're going to mess up. They're going to attack, someone that doesn't make sense. And, that's fine. We know that's going to happen. There's going to be some responsible people that are going to make up for that. And if you're truly interested in getting the best rewards possible, I fully encourage you to be that person. Take on that mantle. To take on that extra responsibility, even if that means you're not getting as many points. You might get a few less points. Because if we all act selfishly in this one, nobody's going to win. And we're all going to be frustrated. We're all going to be ticked off. And you know what, guys? Here's the reality. Over time, the people who are consistently not paying attention and the people who are consistently just attacking random targets and not doing the smart thing, they're going to get removed. They just, because it's not fair to the people who put in the time and the effort. And we're not in this. While we are all in this to help, our guilds get the win, get the W, get as many points as possible, we also aren't in it to be the people that make all the sacrifices for 2 or 3 selfish people. And that's not a huge problem in the Visioneers community, but I mean, the people who are War Masters are going to be paying attention to that and reporting that. And if you're going to be a Maverick, the interest in helping you get this fat load of like 300 crystals every week, I'm not interested in that. And that I hope that kind of helps clarifies, Pro. JD asks, would it make sense for one person to take down an tower? It can, absolutely. Like, for instance, JD, if you know that you can only be around for like an hour, or if you have the monsters to take that tower out, and maybe it's like a couple strong defenses and a couple weak ones, and you know that you can just, kind of roll it out, and you're kind of running out of monsters, yeah, that does make sense. Because if you can only, you can do siege battle if you only play for like an hour a day. You just need to play smart. You need to say, hey guys, I'm going to take out, I've got 10 attacks. I'm going to try to take out these 2 towers completely, and then you've contributed and you've helped out and, you've pushed the ball forward. So you can be part of that rush, and you can be, every bit as valuable as the other group of people who are like, I'm going to send out an attack here, I'm going to send out an attack there, I'm going to I'm going to be the tactician, I'm going to attack as needed and kind of be the extra little push. Yeah, and I mean, if you're at work and you can't pay attention to chat, because Alice asked, I noticed a couple of those people that just attacked randomly. They're normally at work or something like that. Guys, don't stress out and try to get your attack-ins during work. Or if you've got to sneak this by the boss, don't bother. Just keep grinding, keep doing your giants, keep doing your guild war. Wait until you've got a 30-minute to an hour break, and then, take the time to do like 5 attacks. And then, when you get home, do another 5 attacks. Ask chat, ask the person who's coordinating everything, hey, who should I attack? Who should I do? And then, so that way you can be valuable without putting a whole lot of time into it. Just think smart in that. Think that it's not just me, and it's not just my decisions that affect everybody. I like JD. JD, yeah. No, for sure. This is... Boss Man doesn't understand. That's 300 crystals. 300 crystals, that's like, dang. That's at least $10 in Com to us money. Because if 3,000 crystals costs you $100, that's $10, man. That's $10 an hour right there. Okay. So before I've got anything else, does anyone else have any other specific questions? Maybe about any kind of monster comps for the 3v3 meta. Does anyone have any questions about like any other kind of specific situations or whatnot? I am going to assume at the moment that people are covered. Once again, I do have a YouTube video up that kind of, it's about 20 minutes. It recaps a lot of this, including the 3 phases, the 3 different scenarios that are going on in terms of what can possibly happen and when. I'll recap the 3 scenarios again. The first scenario, the 2 guilds are weaker than we are. The priorities attack 10, 11, and 12 on both sides. Push towards both blitz. Blitz towards the enemy headquarters. Crush them in defeat. As Highlander would say, let loose the hounds of war, go all out. Scenario 2. 1 guild is weaker, and 1 guild is the same strength or stronger. Don't attack the stronger guild. Let them attack us. Let them waste their attacks. Let them, figure it out. Blitzkrieg the weaker guild so we can flank the stronger guild later on. It's all about points. Scenario 3, where both guilds are stronger. Make sure that you go through. Wait for the situation where you turtle up, hold back your attacks, do a few, exploratory attacks, let them waste attackers, go through them, a little bit slow and methodically. Work on preserving as many points per turn as you possibly can. That kind of goes through. I will have more as we do more of these battles, and I'll have more specific tactics for specific situations. I'd like to get some pictures. So if you're in a guild battle, guys, very much please take screenshots of different scenarios so that way I can take them. I can circle the different graphs. and I can say, hey, in this situation, you should attack this tower. In this situation, you can attack this tower. We'll further develop the strategy. I will be around to answer questions. Tomorrow is Thanksgiving, so it'll be a little bit hit and miss after the initial rush. But I expect that's going to be the same with every other guild that's in the U.S. that's out there, so don't stress too much. And guys, the most important thing is to have a lot of fun with Siege. Go out there, get past this learning curve, because the rewards here really are just absolutely amazing. We'll get into things later on like comps, monsters budget monsters you can build for the 3v3 meta. That aren't Nat 5s that can act, that can serve as counters, things like that, like Nat 3s, things like that, and we'll kind of go from there. Aside from that, it's been good talking. I'm going to try to consolidate this into a PDF so people can read up on it as well. Glad y'all enjoyed the overview. And peace, guys. We'll take it. We'll go from there.